Hello, everyone. James Waddell with Cognitive here. Hey, thank you for joining us live or if you're watching the recorded session. It's always a pleasure to bring you the latest information and solutions that we have found that we find exciting here at Cognitive. I'm coming to you from a super secret location. That's the background that I have. It's my pleasure today to introduce Richard Ling here in just a second from StationA. I was very excited to find the solution in the services set that StationA provides, primarily from an ESG perspective. I know we spend a lot of time talking about sustainability and governance and DEI, and then we talk about our carbon footprint and how to measure it from from a work from home or office or building perspective. But in searching out solutions for how to improve those scores, we started exploring rather deeply solution sets to be able to deploy solar energy or renewable energy. And that's how we ran across StationA. So in this case, let me introduce Richard from StationA. Richard, how are you?
Hey, James, thanks for having us.
Hey, no worries, man. Can you tell the audience a little bit about who you are and maybe a little bit about StationA as well?
Yeah, so I'm on the business development side of StationA. So StationA is, in a nutshell, we are the US's leading clean energy marketplace. I can go into more on what that means, but essentially we help building owners go through the entire life cycle of procuring and analyzing solar. So when you're a commercial building owner and you're thinking, hey, I want to explore solar, StationA helps you all the way from when you're initially interested down to procuring actual solar installers and getting solar on your building. So my background, I actually came in to StationA from the solar development space. So I used to develop solar energy and energy efficiency technologies across C&I buildings, about over 100 megawatts plus. And there I really learned the ins and outs of how to actually develop solar. So StationA is working on, getting more solar out there and just making it honestly easier and transparent for building owners to go solar.
That was one of the things that I found really exciting when I ran across you guys. From your website, I noticed there was the ability to look at a data set that was already existing. So let me just sort of leave it at that and ask you to explain that a little bit about your data set that's available on your website.
Yeah, so this is something anyone can actually access. So if you're at home right now and you go to StationA.com, the very first thing on our homepage is you can enter in any address and it will open up a map of the US that actually has analyzed your building for solar potential. The reason this is revolutionary is that the traditional process of solar analysis, and I used to be a solar, analytics person, and the way it works is that you get your building address, you sit down with your favorite solar modeling tool like Helioscope, and then you model the solar installation and get the production report. StationA has streamlined that incredibly so that all you really need is your address. You input that into our website, and then you get a map and display of the key financial metrics surrounding your solar system. So how much does it cost? How much is it going to save you? And some subsidiary metrics like GHG savings and lifetime savings as well. So the key takeaway here is that we have sort of automated the solar analysis portion of the solar life cycle to really be done in an instant. So we've mapped around a million buildings thus far, soon to be tens of millions. And importantly, these are only buildings above 10,000 square feet. So we're really focused on the commercial building space, not the residential, currently. That's how it works, though, and anyone can use it for free on our website right now.
That's awesome. In thinking about that a little bit, I would imagine it used to be pretty heavy lifting to even get a sense for if solar was right for you from an analysis perspective. And really what I've internalized is the data on your website is such a time saver if you're even contemplating about going to solar. I mean, that's a fair statement, yeah?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Because in fact, I think the statistic is that, these sort of soft development costs, if you will, before you actually put solar on the ground or on your roof, account for like 20 to 30% of your total project costs, and also obviously your time. So what we're trying to do is just cut down on the time spent for this analytical phase so that you can actually get to the real business of putting solar on your roof. So it's a big time saver and honestly a money saver. So yeah, it's worth mentioning the alternative to what we're doing is usually in the status quo, people would hire, let's say, a consultant or an analyst or a broker to do this, analytical work.
Hmm.
Uh, so we're kind of enabling anyone, even people who are not solar savvy, to do this analysis. That's our mission, and we're just trying to streamline the entire process.
Let me give you a sense for how I think that fits in our world. We have very broad conversations from facility to sustainability, HR, IT. Most of our conversations these days are really focused around ESG, environmental, social, and governance. There's a really good conversation happening everywhere about carbon reduction and what that can mean. And it seems like, and it has proven out so far in our conversations, that being able to have a meaningful conversation about solar is incredibly valuable. Usually those conversations get short-circuited because there's not a good understanding of the data that you already have for the most part, or the cost associated with the study, just to find out if it's even possible. But that leads me to the second thing, right? Is that if this is real, if the data is good for you, right, and it looks like something that if you put together from a study perspective, that it could be a fit for whatever your goals are. The next step is, okay, now I have to operationalize it. How do I get it done? And that you guys already have that thought out. So can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, that's a great point. So all that analytical stuff that I just talked about
Mhm.
is the first step of solar. So when you're a
Mhm.
building owner, you want to know, okay, I'm interested in solar. How much is it going to save me? So
Mhm.
that's what we do with the analytical part. And then once you get your results back and say, this looks pretty good, it has a good payback period, a good ROI, a good NPV, all that stuff. Now what? Now I got to
Mhm.
actually procure the solar. So there are two ways to do this in the status quo. You can either go directly to a solar installer and sort of sole source the product,
Mhm.
or you can work with StationA and do a competitive process.
Mhm.
The reason that competitive is often done more than sole source is simply due to financials. When you sole source something, you're kind of beholden to the price they suggest, and you can negotiate it, but it is kind of tough because solar
Mhm.
is not like buying a car or a dishwasher. It's a complex construction project, and it's really helpful to have a competitive process going on.
Mhm.
So what we do in our procurement and marketplace is we help building owners run the entire RFP process from start to finish. And we really, when I
Mhm.
mean start to finish, we really manage every part. So we help draft the RFP, publish it to our network to collect bids, and we compile the results in an apples to apples layout so that, again, any non-solar savvy person can understand it.
Mhm.
Um, One of the key advantages of working with StationA is that we currently have the largest network in clean energy for this solar procurement. So we have around 2,000 plus solar installers on our application,
Mhm.
which means that you're going to get like thousands of eyeballs on your RFP, which is fantastic. You won't get thousands of proposals because that's kind of unwieldy. Most likely, you'll get 5 to 10. Um, but that's what we do on the RFP front. The goal is to get you a fair and competitive price, and obviously help you understand your bids because
Mhm.
that's really crucial and kind of overlooked in today's RFP process.
100%. I mean, there's clearly a lot of value there. Um, it's readily apparent. The next question would then be, what's the magnitude of cost for those services? And how much does something like that cost? The
Yeah,
end
so that's
users.
a great question. So I'll talk about the analytical part and the RFP part.
Mhm.
So the analytical part is completely free to do. You can do it yourself even for a single building. If you had
Mhm.
like thousands of buildings, we can talk about it. But for the most part, people are dealing with like single, maybe tens of buildings, and you
Mhm.
can self-serve that, as you will on our website.
Mhm.
The RFP portion, I'm happy to report is also free of charge.
Mhm.
So the way it works is that we work with the building owner to, like I said, draft, publish, and get the RFP results.
Mhm.
Uh, the only way that we StationA make money is we charge a small success fee to the winning provider of your RFP. So let's say like a NextEra or a SunPower wins your RFP. They
Mhm.
would pay StationA a small success fee, and that's how we make money. The reason we do this model is so that you, the building owner, don't have any like capital constraints or kind of liability to do this.
Mhm.
Because again, our overarching mission, if you take a step back from the analytical and RFP portion, is to just get more clean energy out there. You
Mhm.
know, so we're trying to reduce those barriers. So if you want to run an RFP with us, completely free to do so. Yeah.
That's amazing. It really does remove the barriers to explore solar, no matter where you may be. Um, from the conversational perspective, it's much more than just reducing carbon. There are many things that you can do from a supply chain perspective. You can track materials and the very important things that you should be doing as a corporation. Certainly, one of those things should be exploring if solar is right for you. And I think you guys have done an amazing job of reducing those barriers towards those conversations, and even being able to get to a point of having a very real proposal sitting in front of you with tangible benefits if you execute that proposal, to defining what those being able to define what those future budgets might be and the implications and impacts that could have on your environmental scores, which are so very important these days.
Exactly. Yeah. And just one thing to add to that is, if you are a, public corporation with ESG goals,
Mhm,
uh, solar really impacts your scope 2 emissions. So you have 1, 2,
mhm,
and 3. Scope 2 is what solar really impacts.
mhm,
And the, yeah, so, there are other ways to impact your scope 1 and 3 emissions as well. But the real benefits of solar is that oftentimes you can attribute the RECs, or the renewable energy certificates, back to
mhm,
your ESG goals, and also have that public brand perception boosted. So there's
mhm,
a ton of companies like Target, Walmart, Prologis doing solar, in part
mhm,
because it just improves your brand reputation.
mhm.
Uh, so it's not just, an economic benefit. There's a ton of other benefits, obviously.
Right, very good. If someone wanted to reach out to your firm for more information, how would they do that? Would it be best to go to the website, send an email? What's best?
Yeah, so you can contact anyone on the team. So, I'm Richard at StationA.com. You can also contact our general email, which is info@StationA.com. Um, but yeah, that's probably the best way. We also have a contact form on our website, obviously.
Mhm. Okay.
Um, but yeah, you can also, like I said, in the analytical part, and when you're analyzing your building for solar potential, you
Mhm.
can start that any day now on our website.
Sure. Yes,
So
it's almost like self-service on the website, right? It is fairly intuitive and easy to get to, right?
yeah, although one thing is that we had a lot of clients who like to work with us to do the analysis part,
Hmm.
even though they, most of it could be self-serve. We do offer an in-house sort of more in-depth analysis.
Hmm.
Um, this is also free, for a relatively small amount of buildings. So a lot of clients have taken advantage of this, and
Hmm.
the real distinction is that when you self-serve it on the website, you only get kind of like the high-level metrics, such as
Hmm.
savings, GHG savings, cost, those kind of things. With our in-house analysis, you get around like 30, 50 metrics that go all the way down to granular lifetime savings and
Hmm.
NPV, payback, and a host of other financial metrics. So sometimes people like that more in-depth view, and that's just another way to do it.
Super awesome. Hey, we try to keep these between 15 and 30 minutes. I think what I'd like to do here is leave the audience, the viewing audience, whether it's live or recorded, with a lot of questions. And I think those lots of questions can be answered in follow-up, maybe with you or I, or on the website, maybe even a little deeper detail in our next meeting that we haven't yet talked about. So maybe I can get you back on the show, and we can talk about some very specifics, information that's in your typical report and the impacts it's having on ESG reporting, if that's okay.
Yeah, awesome. And
Super awesome.
so do I have time to say one last parting
Oh,
thought?
100%. I'm sorry. Yeah, usually I follow up with, hey, what do you want to leave the audience with, sir? So, what's the one thought or thoughts you would like for the audience to have?
Yeah, so I think one of the most important things, if you are a CRE owner, is like, why should I even care about solar, and why is it worth my time? Because you're very busy, right? Like, you have multiple assets to deal with, a lot of tenant issues. Like, commercial real estate people are incredibly busy. So why should you care about solar out of all these competing interests? The way I like to think about it is two things. Does solar save you money? And does it increase or attract tenants? Because those are, like, if you boil it down, those are the two main things that real estate owners truly care about. There's a
Mhm.
lot of other things, but if you consider just those two things, what I'll say is solar at a very simplistic level improves your NOI, net cash flow, and NPV. And the way it does this is very simple. It decreases your expenses, and that's how it improves NOI. It increases your income because you can effectively charge higher rent rates if you pass on solar savings to your tenants, therefore increasing your cash flow. And it also can increase your NPV because we've found through like real world examples that a lot of tenants are staying longer because of solar. Reason being is that solar, the way you procure it is usually through long-term leases for your developer, usually on the order of 10 to 25 years. So as the owner of a building, you can say to your tenants, look, I can fix your electricity rate at this level for 10 to 15 years if you stay in this building as a tenant. So that's been a pretty effective way to increase your overall NPV. And the second matter of like attracting and retaining tenants is really simple to understand. You know, a lot of tenants want solar. I don't even need statistics to explain that. People like solar. They want to live in environmentally conscious buildings, and so solar is really not only a financial asset but also a brand asset to your building. So that's, I think, like at a high level, why CRE owners should care about solar, and why it's worth their time in general.
Mhm. Wow, what a great thought. Holy cow. So many topics we can unpack here that I just wish we had more time on, but I'm going to save them. I'm going to save them. So we've got this really nice package, 15 to 20 minutes. I love it. We definitely need to unpack a few items. Some of them are impact ESG, conversation point around EV charging, which is huge these days from a building owner perspective. Are you using coal power for EV charging? That doesn't make any sense. So if you're going to go solar for those, might as well go solar for other things. Man, I'm looking forward to our next. Thank you for the time today, truly, Richard. And
Yeah,
we'll
and
get.
we might talk about EV charging next because StationA also beyond solar, we're a clean energy marketplace, so we offer
Mhm.
solar, batteries, EV charging, even
That's awesome.
community solar these days. So
Right.
yeah, looking forward to future
I
conversations.
feel like there's a whole series here. We've got a whole series of things we can talk about.
Exactly.
All right. So this is the introduction, cognitive and station A, and the significant value that there is there. Man, I love it. Thank you so much. And in the viewing audience, thank you for your time, truly. If this will be available on the unedited recorded session here in the next few minutes, we'll turn these into cognitive briefs as we always do, which are 2 to 3 minute snippets and bringing value to you guys. Thanks again, Richard, truly.
No, thank you,
I'm
Jim.
going to ask you to hang on just a second. Thanks, everybody.